You've probably been told that the loudness war is over, and that loud mixes are bad because the mix is smashed, and that you can't possibly have a good sounding song if it's that loud. In fact, if you look across all the genres, the top performing songs, they're all way louder than that magical minus 14 LUFS number. And I'd be willing to bet they all probably have inner sample peaks as well. And what is up with my eyeball? Oh man, I didn't even know I had a black eye. It's a BJJ injury, I think. So in this video, we're gonna break down what all the numbers mean, what all the weird units mean. We're gonna talk about why some songs might sound quieter on streaming platforms like Spotify or YouTube. I'm gonna give you actionable tips so you can make sure that your songs sound as loud as possible. And we're also gonna do a little bit of a deep dive into what actually is meant by loudness penalties when it comes to streaming platforms like Spotify. I literally pulled song data out and compared it to the original masters of those songs so we can see exactly what's going on. Yeah, there is a lot to unpack here, and I'm hoping that this video is the one that ends it for good. All right, let's talk about the history of the loudness war. Why are people fighting to make their stuff as loud as possible? Well, it turns out that when we hear things as human beings, if it's louder, it tends to sound better. Frequency-wise, everything kind of has more balance to it, and that was shown by some of the early work by Fletcher and Munson, where they came up with their equal loudness contours. It's captured by this graphic from Isotope. All this really means is that the differences in our ability to perceive the loudness on the low end and the high end change as a function of loudness and as frequency changes. So for example, if we have a sound at like 3 SPL here, we would need something at like 60 SPL if it was at 30 hertz for it to sound like it's the same level as the 1 kilohertz. And as we get louder and louder, this difference becomes less and less, right? We only need an extra 20 dB at those low frequencies to make it sound like a 1 kilohertz signal when it's at about 100 SPL. In addition to the frequencies potentially being more balanced at these louder levels, we're also bringing out a lot of the details that are held within the mix that give it a more spatial and immersive feeling. So how do we get here? We got here because it's really annoying to have to go and grab your remote control and adjust the volume on your TV, or to grab your mouse and adjust the volume on Spotify or any of your audio streaming services when the song volume jumps between tracks, or if you have a really, really loud commercial. That's just bad experience for the people that are consuming music. A bunch of people got together and they said, you know what we need? We need to normalize everything. Everything needs to fall under these specific standards. So these different unions, namely the EBU and the ITU, which is the European Broadcast Union, and the International Telecommunications Union, and these European standards came up with this magic number of minus 23 LUFS. So why minus 23? It's such a random number. Now, minus 23 LUFS was basically decided on because they have a lot of legacy material. There's a lot of old commercials in TV broadcasts, in radio stuff, as well as music. And to normalize all this stuff so that they're about the same level, you have two options. One is you can turn down the loud stuff, or two is you can turn up the quiet stuff. Well, it turns out if you have really dynamic material and you turn up the quiet stuff, it sounds really bad. So instead, what was decided upon was just to turn everything down. That way you're not driving in a highly dynamic signal into a limiter or something else that could change the audio sound a lot. So this brings up where most of the confusion is for all of my home recording people, my producers, and bands out there that are trying to release their own music. Because everybody hears, oh, Spotify plays back at minus 14 LUFS, and so they think they have to master music to that target. And I'll tell you right now, that's not the case. Let me show you why that doesn't matter right now. So this is a band called Hope's Avenue. This is their master that they had before they uploaded it to Spotify, okay? If we do some analysis on it, we can look at the statistics. We can see what the levels are. We have a peak amplitude at literally 0 dB. So it's being sent to Spotify at 0 dB full scale. Okay, so it's as loud as we could possibly do it without clipping. It's probably going to have some pretty loud inner sample peaks, but that's a whole nother topic. The average RMS loudness is minus 5.3 dB RMS. That is super loud. The integrated loudness is minus 6 LUFS, okay? So that's about 8 dB louder than that magical 14 LUFS number that you've heard about. So I went on Spotify and I captured the audio coming back from Spotify after this was uploaded. If I played the song back in a web browser, this is what I get back. It's pretty much the same volume except for one thing, and that difference is right here. Peak amplitude has been adjusted from 0 and brought down to 0.11 dB. Our LUFS, integrated LUFS, is essentially the exact same except it's 0.1 dB quieter because they turned the peak gain down. Basically didn't do anything to that master. Now, if you do enable on Spotify or whatever streaming platform that you're using, the loudness normalization, that does come back quieter. So I was able to capture that song with loudness normalization set to normal. And now what ends up happening is the song comes back. And if we integrate part of the song to see what level that's at, it's at almost exactly the minus 14 LUFS. So there's really not anything different happening other than this song has been adjusted if that one option is checked. If that option is not checked, which on some streaming platforms, they're not checked by default, the person listening to your song is going to get the quiet version and everybody else is going to be at full volume. So it's like the opposite problem, except even worse because now you have to normalize this by adding gain to this level to bring it up to a competitive level. So basically, you're just giving up all of your ability as a mastering engineer to control what your song sounds like, because the only time they're really going to introduce a limiter is if your song is too quiet, not if it's too loud. So if you understand how the loudness measurement is calculated, you'll have the best chance of getting it to sound loud and competitive with all the other songs on Spotify or whatever streaming platform you're sending your song to. And that standard is called the ITU BS 1770-2 or whatever amendment they have right now. Basically, that defines how all the loudness should be calculated from these different streaming platforms. So the important things you need to know about this is that the audio is measured using a K weighting scale. So what that K weighting does is it applies two different types of filters. This first pre-filter boosts the high frequencies right around 1K up to almost 4 dB. Okay, this is the exact shape. They even give you the filter coefficients if you want to build your own filter to model this. And what this does is it helps to offset the acoustic phenomenon of our head shape when it comes to interpreting and hearing sound. Okay, so they call this a spherical head model. And the second filter that they put on is actually a high-pass filter right around, 100 hertz or so. It's a 6 dB per octave from what it looks like on this plot. Is basically making the low frequencies less sensitive to the volume measurement and the high frequencies more sensitive to the loudness measurement. So this is basically adding in those offsets that we saw with the Fletcher-Munson curves to make it sound more representative of how humans hear and perceive loudness in music. This also makes it so you can't just hack your way to a louder song by boosting the high end up a lot because there's not a lot of energy density in those high frequencies compared to the low frequency stuff. So these two filters are basically encouraging you to make your mix sound good. Now there's one more component to this K weighting that you need to be aware of. There's a loudness gate that comes in and basically throws out any silence that's in the track. And then they have a secondary gate that kicks in to kind of clear out any of the quieter moments. I took this slide from Samuel Fishman, so shout out to him. He has a really good talk on this subject. But basically, it's going to take those two filters that I just talked about, and then you take all of your audio that you have and you break it into 400 millisecond chunks. Then we do some math to that, which is right here. So then you calculate all those little blocks in your song, and anything that is under minus 70 LUFS gets thrown out, okay? The gate is set at minus 70 LUFS. Then what you do is you take all those blocks and get an average value for them. Then to finish the K weighting, we had to take 10 dB below that value, and then we define another gate threshold. So if it's minus 14 LUFS at that point, then minus 24 LUFS is where the gating would turn on and off again and discard everything below minus 24 LUFS. That way it plays fair with things like radio commercials, really loud, annoying Spotify ads, and your music. And it's important to understand this for this next section I'm going to show you. So if all of this is correct, and if Spotify actually does this adjustment based on the integrated LUFS value of the song, we should see a difference in the maximum peak level for different songs depending on how dynamic they are. Because that's the only way to get an integrated LUFS value that's all the same. So what I did was I went to Spotify and I streamed a bunch of different songs from different genres. I think I don't even have to say anything, but if you just look at the height for the different songs, we do get adjustments here, right? This is high, this is a little bit lower, this is much higher. If we go down further, this is a lot more dynamic. It's not as sausage-like as the other ones. This, whatever this is super loud. So Spotify is adjusting that LUFS integrated value of the song. And so the more dynamic the song, the louder the max peak that we can see here. And I think that's the argument that a lot of people are making why you shouldn't overcompress your music, is because it's gonna come back louder on Spotify that way. But what if our music doesn't sound good when it's that dynamic? What if it sounds more full and more 3D when you have it very loud? What if we use our ears instead of a meter to decide at what point the song sounds the best? That's the part that is missing from all these documents and all these recommended standards that we get. So if we go back and we just listen, let's just jump around. What I found is that the audio level kind of sounded the same regardless of how loud that max peak is. This normalization is doing its job. And if it sounds good when it's really, really, really compressed, and it sounds good when it's really not compressed, then it doesn't matter. And in my opinion, you always want to default on the loud side because that gives you, the person who's in charge of releasing the song, the most control. So I'm just going to jump around and let me know. Tell me if you think that some of these songs sound way, way louder because they're more dynamic. I bet you'll disagree. Right? They all sound about the same volume, or they're close enough to each other where it's not like an annoyance anymore. But they all sound good, right? So just because some music is super dynamic and it has really, really loud peaks here, doesn't mean that sounds way better than something like this. So what might be the real reason for someone's song, once they upload it to Spotify, of it not sounding as loud or competitive as some of these other songs? As long as you're serving the song on terms of loudness and not just shredding it, I think the real difference lies in frequency balance. The songs that are more full, the songs where frequencies aren't completely masking a bunch of different instruments, those are the songs that are going to sound the cleanest, and there's going to be space for it to become loud. And having a solid balance of frequencies across your entire song is what's going to maximize your perceived loudness and actually make it sound competitive with those other songs on Spotify. Now, that's not always easy to do. And that's why a lot of people outsource their songs to a professional mastering engineer, someone that understands what proper frequency balance sounds like and get you back your song that's going to sound as good as it possibly can sound. Now, that's not possible for everybody, and I totally get that, but I do have a course on mastering that you should check out if this is of interest to you. I teach you my 6-step listen framework to figure out where the problems could be in your music and how to fix it. The course is designed for home studios, but it teaches you how to use what you have to get the results that you're trying to achieve. This has been a game changer for a lot of people already. If you have a release coming up and you want to make sure it sounds as good as possible, go in the description and check out the Complete Home Studio Mastering course. So you might be wondering what the final output level of your song should be to then send it off to these streaming services. Almost all the streaming services I've seen want you to send it to them at -1 dB true peak. Now, the reason for that is because in most cases, you're going to minimize the amount of intersample peaks that will be occurring when you take that pristine audio file you sent them and they convert it to lossy formats like MP3. There's going to be an increase in volume because of those quantization errors. Bands that I've worked with have submitted masters at -1 dB true peak, and Spotify will play it back at basically -0.1. So regardless if you send them a master at 0 dB like we saw for the first example, or at -1 dB true peak, it's always playing back at about the same peak amplitude. So if you want to be absolutely super safe, then just set your output volume to -1 dB true peak and then export your song. And if you're not afraid of turning it up to 11, then set your output volume to -0.2 dB full scale. The last thing you need to know is just make sure you dither to the right format. So if you're making a 16-bit WAV file, just make sure you put it to 16-bit dither. That's all you need to worry about. 24-bit, set it to 24-bit. But just like everything else in this video, dithering is a suggestion. You don't have to do it. It's not going to ruin your mix. Apple Music isn't going to send you an angry email, so don't stress out about it. All right, so to wrap this up, The ITU R1770-5 or whatever standard that everybody refers to was a broadcasting standard, and music got lumped into that. So across many of the streaming platforms, they've somewhat agreed that minus 14 LUFS integrated is a good target to play back your audio if you have volume normalization checked. As a reminder, that is not the default for a lot of platforms. So if you submit your songs at minus 14 LUFS integrated, guess what? Your songs are super quiet against everybody else's. Not great. So my recommendation is to make the song as loud as possible so that it serves the song the best it can be. Your ears will tell you when you're overcompressing something. Remember, almost all of the top songs across all genres are louder than minus 14 LUFS integrated. Some songs sound better at different loudness targets. Don't try to force your song into a box. It's your music. You should be allowed some artistic creativity here. We talked about how LUFS are calculated, which is through a K weighting like I'm showing here on the screen. Those segments are broken into small blocks of about 400 milliseconds each, and that is what that momentary LUFS value is. Short term is the integration over 3 seconds of audio. And then integrated is going to be the entire program material. So that's your entire song. And actually, something we didn't talk about is what this LU means. LU is basically just LUFS, but it's your offset depending on your target. So a value of plus 14.2 LU is telling me that I'm 14 LUFS units louder than my target. Okay, so clearly Cubase is set up probably for that broadcast standard. So unless you're doing actual broadcast, I wouldn't ever look at loudness units. And we also learned that streaming platforms started implementing some sort of loudness normalization, not to penalize music producers, but rather to make the listening experience better when people like lots of different genres of music and you start incorporating things like ads. Because ads are really annoying and they're usually really loud, and nobody wants a loud ad when they're trying to listen to good music. We learned that we shouldn't just submit audio to these streaming platforms at minus 14 LUFS integrated. We should submit them at the loudness that they sound the best. And then I showed from first-hand experience how Spotify changes the audio that we upload to it. The audio tracks all sound relatively the same volume anyways, regardless if they have louder maximum peaks or not. So there should be no reason why you would turn down your audio to hit a certain target if it sounds better louder. Just be aware that psychologically, our brains are pre-wired to think that things that are louder sound better. So make sure that when you're doing your A/B comparisons, when you're trying to dial in that last bit of limiting, that is actually serving the song and not just sucking all of your transients away. And again, I have a mastering course that goes over all the tricks for how to know exactly when you're at the right level for all those details. So have you had any issues uploading songs to streaming platforms where it sounded way, way quieter or it sounded really distorted? Let me know in the comments below. My name is Bobby Bela. I'm the mixing and mastering engineer at Rayton Productions, and I'll see you in the next video.